can't believe you titled the stream this, Adam.
Go. Come on. What are you talking about? What's the matter with the stream?
Bill Maher screws Stormy Daniels. Oh my God.
Well, now look, now it's going to be in the transcript. You can't necessarily, you can change the title. You can't change the
No, I
transcript.
love the
So,
title. I was being facetious. It's a great title.
well, I thought it might get demonetized, but
Oh, okay.
whatever. Who
Well,
cares?
who cares? Anyways,
Metaphorically, of course, right?
yes,
Well,
and
we don't know. I
metaphorically.
mean,
I
who
don't know.
knows?
Who
She's been
knows?
on the show, right?
Right, right. So this is actually pretty crazy. Um, Bill Maher just sent, in my opinion, just gave Donald Trump a massive aid here to his Stormy Daniels trial, which is pretty shocking because Bill Maher, famously hates Donald Trump's guts, not just because he disagrees with politics like vehemently, but also because Donald Trump sued Bill Maher over a joke. Do you remember this?
I do.
Bill
Yeah.
Maher said that he would pay, there was the whole thing where Trump said he would pay, I don't know, it's like $1 million or something, if someone could procure, uh, Obama's original Kenyan birth certificate, supposedly. And Bill Maher, in response, said that he would pay $1 million if Donald Trump could procure his birth certificate that showed that he was not born of an orangutan.
Right.
And
Yes.
so Donald Trump,
Produce the
gave.
birth certificate.
Yes, he
And he
sent Bill
wanted his
Maher a copy
money.
of his birth certificate, and then when Bill Maher didn't give him $1 million, he sued him. So
Right.
obviously
Which is
ridiculous.
ridiculous,
Yeah,
obviously.
right, right, right. So famously, Bill Maher not a Donald Trump fan, but then this is what's so interesting. He put out this clip on his show this week that we can watch, and it really, I would be shocked if Donald Trump's own legal team does not play this clip at some point in the trial, maybe during their closing statement, because it really completely eviscerates Stormy Daniels' credibility in front of a jury. And it will just, I don't know, I think it would massively damage, the case against Trump, which I'm just so surprised that Bill Maher would do this because he hates Trump so much.
Right. Yeah, I want to make sure I have the right clip here. Is it the Twitter video
It's the Twitter video, yeah.
that's like 3 minutes and 9 seconds?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I
And
got
go
it
to
up
the
here.
50-second mark because we're not gonna watch the whole thing.
Okay.
And we can watch it from 50 seconds to about a minute 48 is the relevant stuff.
All right, let's go. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. You chime in when you want me to pause it.
Okay.
Video. This is when I had Stormy on in 2018, and first I asked her why she had sex with Trump. Listen to that, and then listen to what she says after that, and then we're going to talk about the trial because it's quite at variance of what she said to me in 2018. Why did you fuck Donald Trump? Okay, but you say it's not a Me Too case.
It is not a Me Too case. I mean, I wasn't assaulted. I wasn't attacked or raped or coerced or blackmailed. They tried to shove me in the Me Too box to further their own agenda. And first of all, I didn't want any part of that because it's not the truth, and I'm not a victim in that regard.
That's not what she's saying now. She's talking about he was bigger and blocking the way. It's all the Me Too buzzwords. She said there was a power imbalance of power for sure. My hands were shaking so hard. She said she blacked out. Blacked out? She's a porn star.
She's pausing now.
I don't think sex.
We're just getting to the funny part. What are you talking about?
You want the porn star part?
She blacked out. She's
Yeah,
a
she
porn
blacked out.
star.
Right. Right. Porn
Yeah.
stars used to doing a lot of drugs, I guess. But
Oh,
so it's just no, but this is very interesting to me. So Bill Maher, who very famously made a compilation. I don't know if you remember this. I think we talked about this. He had a compilation of saying that he didn't think Donald Trump would leave the White House if he loses. This was during his first term. And I believe he said it afterwards now, saying that if Donald Trump wins again, that, is going to try to be president forever and all this other stuff. And it Bill Maher seems that he's changed his tune on this, interestingly. And in this own show, at the end of this, in the new rules, he said he kind of criticized the media for making everything overblown and fixating on sensationalizing things. And he even says sensationalizing Donald Trump, and that if Donald Trump wins, that, he doesn't like Trump. He thinks Trump sucks, but if Donald Trump wins, he doesn't think the country's necessarily going to explode and that the end of the world will happen.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so he has changed his position because he's
Right.
gone the full like end of democracy route
He
before.
has in the past, yes. And he seems like he's changed very strongly. So why do you think he's changed? What do you think is going on here?
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe he's got a friend that's confided in him and told him, "Look, Billy, you're getting a little obsessed with the TDS," and like changed
Hmm.
his mind, his heart.
Hmm.
What
Well,
do
I'm
you think it
wondering,
is?
well, there's a couple of things. I think either A, he really wanted to play this clip to help his show because obviously, you have people talking about this, and there's no way
So that friend was his producer. Look, this will be
yes,
great for the show.
yes, it's impossible that when they were talking about putting this clip together, that someone on his staff didn't say, Donald or not Bill, Donald's team could literally play this during their trial, and it could help his case, and you could prevent Donald Trump from going to jail, Bill. And so Bill's like, whatever, it's worth the ratings. And then that alone made him change his mind, like change the moral equation. That's possible. Like, it's a very cynical view. That's possible. I think it's more likely the case is just, I think him seeing all like the insanity on the left and Donald Trump being out of office for 4 years, it sort of changes, I think, people's priorities. They're starting to see like the left is just so crazy. The college kids on campus are so crazy and obnoxious. And maybe that's kind of shifted in his mind, sort of the calculation of, what the threats in the country are.
Is Bill Maher Jewish?
No,
Could this be? Oh, he's not?
no,
Okay.
he's raised Catholic. I mean, he's atheist, but he's raised Catholic,
Okay.
I
Okay.
believe. So, I mean, his name's Mar, so.
So
uh,
it's not an October 7th effect.
well, he's one of the more um, classical atheist guys who really hates like Islam, especially kind of like Richard Dawkins.
Oh
So
yeah,
he's
yeah. He's made a movie Religulous. Like he's
right,
definitely on the anti-theist train. Yes.
100% right.
Yeah.
And so he's definitely, probably based on that, I would imagine that his intuitions are sort of more in the pro-Israel camp anyway, because he doesn't like
Right.
fundamentalist
Yeah.
Islam, which obviously Hamas sort of operates under a very religious ideology. So,
Yeah. Interesting move. So
mhm.
now we're gonna see Bill Maher's show in the trial, right? This is gonna come up or
Well, it's interesting because, Stormy is not on the witness stand. I don't know if they can call her back and confront her with this clip, which would be very interesting if they could. But if
right.
they can't do that, I believe they could play it during their closing statement. I don't know if they could play Bill Maher's commentary after her own words. They might only just be able to play her own words. But even that,
Right.
I mean, that's so
Pretty
damning.
damning. Yeah.
Yes. If in the trials, as Bill said, and I was reading from the articles, if she's making these claims, you know, that Trump essentially assaulted her, she doesn't say it, but it's like she doesn't say it directly, but she like kind of implies it through what she's saying, through all the way she's describing it. It's like, oh, it's so scary. He blocked the door. She blacked out, all these other things. It's like, if she's implying that she was assaulted, and then you have this clip that just shows that she's very clearly saying she wasn't at the time that the accusation first came out, so you're not like, why would she hide anything? And then you combine that with the tweet that Donald Trump's defense was bringing forward, talking about that flushing the golden turd down the toilet, or the yellow turd, or whatever the phrase she was using, and they're trying to make it seem like she just wants to get him in trouble or get him arrested for political purposes. I mean, this really, really shows, strong evidence of that narrative.
Right. Cool.
Now, it might not matter because there could be an incredibly biased jury anyway. So this could all just be like, who cares? Because there's going to be, some people in the jury who, they've convinced themselves Donald Trump is guilty or innocent from the get-go, which is entirely possible. But
Right. People in the chat are saying Bill Maher is Jewish, but it's
I don't think he is. Let me look it up.
It says Bill Maher discovered his mother was Jewish at the age of 12. So he was
Oh,
raised
really?
Catholic and then discovered he had a Jewish mom. So it's
so
yeah.
he's technically.
I swear that I've heard him say that he is Jewish at times.
Interesting. I've only heard us talk about
so
being raised Catholic.
Yeah.
So that would mean that he was, well, I guess if his mom's Jewish, he's technically, according to Judaism, he would be technically Jewish or ethnically Jewish or
Yeah.
half
Not that
Jewish,
that
I
look,
guess.
not that that
Right.
makes any
But he was
difference at all.
raised
So,
obviously
yeah.
Catholic. He wasn't raised Jewish. So,
Yes. Of course.
mhm.
But yeah, so does this affect Donald Trump's aspirations for the White House? I keep seeing
Yes,
really
definitely.
conflicting stuff that is like, this is hurting Trump, this is helping Trump. Obviously, partisan media is spinning as hard as humanly possible. So,
Well, if Donald Trump gets found guilty on all accounts for of this stuff, so that he does get sentenced to some kind of jail or something,
mhm.
it's I don't know if that would help Trump or hurt Trump. I can't make a prediction on that. I could see it going either direction. I don't know if you have a strong feeling on that.
I really can't say either way.
Hmm.
So every time I hear someone in partisan media say anything about the election, they seem to have compelling evidence that their guy is going to win, and then I just, it's they can't both be true, right? Obviously, one of them's going to win, and then I go to 538, and it's like neck and neck. It's like the
Right, right.
polls are like 42,
There,
41, 39,
there,
39.
someone posted some polling for like a bunch of swing states, and there's like three of the swing states Donald Trump is pretty ahead in, and
Mm-hmm.
three of them they're like super, super close. And I believe it was like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. And Biden would need to win those states in order to win the election. And it's like neck and neck. So it's like currently anyone's game obviously depends on what happens with Israel, what happens with inflation, what happens, with these court cases going forward in the trial. But I think if Trump wins this case, I think that will definitely help him. And definitely people point to, see it was all BS from the first place. If he loses it, not sure. I am kind of surprised though, because as we know, we talked about, and I still stand by this. I think it would benefit Trump massively to try to violate the gag order intentionally and go to jail for that for
If he
like
goes
a day or something or 2 days.
Look, if he goes to jail for violating the gag order and wins the case, that's kind of like the best case
You're right.
scenario.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
the ultimate victory. Yeah. So
Because he can say, "Look, I went to jail on these trumped up charges that were all BS." Yeah.
yes, yeah.
He can
And
play the ultimate victim.
so we'll see. I still think it would help. I don't know if he'll do it. I still think it would help him dramatically to do that. So I guess we'll find out if he actually pulls the trigger on that one.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
Okay.
Do you
So
want do you want to watch some of these other clips
oh,
that are
sure,
in
yeah.
this?
Well, these other clips, 'cause I haven't
Well,
seen any.
they're more this is and again, I don't know if this guy is partisan or what, but he's got James Carville. James Carville is frustrated that Trump is more ahead than he's ever been and that Democrat tactics are not working. So this is James Carville. Obviously, he's a Democratic strategist.
You mean the
So,
Twitter account? You don't know if the Twitter guy is biased or not.
yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
Eric.
James Carr. Yeah, sure. Okay.
James Carville is obviously a yes.
Right.
Yeah. Look, Eric is probably a Republican, obviously a Trump supporter. I could be wrong. I'm not sure, but maybe he's a Democrat and he's saying, look, we're going to lose because Biden sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, people will look at James Carville and think, I think James Carville was instrumental in getting Bill Clinton elected. So
Yeah.
he's still running off those fumes. But if this Democratic strategist is worried about Trump getting reelected, then it's time to wake up, Democrats. We got a problem here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is more evidence. Do you
That's
have
it.
okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
In Trump's more ahead than he's ever been. Fewer people think January 6th was any kind of what it was, as an assault on the temple of democracy, the Constitution. I don't know what the fuck you want to say. It's going the wrong way. It's not working. Everything that we're throwing is spaghetti at a wall, and none of it is sticking, me included. And it's hard when you start in your 80th year, and you like anybody else, have an opinion of myself. And the opinion I've come to is I don't matter. It doesn't matter. You can prepare, you can be on TV, or you can write pieces, you can have a YouTube channel, you can have a podcast, and nothing. And we gotta like try to think of something different, because what we're doing is really, really not working.
Well, look, that Mardi Gras shirt is working for me. So
You like that shirt?
I mean, he definitely looks like a guy in his 80s, right? He's got the whole
Yes.
"get off my lawn" vibe down.
I mean, not only just what he's wearing, but what he's saying. I mean, he's completely got the whole like, no longer people no longer listen to me, you know,
Yes,
going on
yeah,
here. Right. Which does undermine his message, I say, substantially in terms of what he's talking about. Because it makes it
yeah,
seem more like personal as opposed to a political strategy thing.
yeah.
That
It's a
is,
tough go.
what do you think? Do you have an opinion? What do you think the Democrats should do or could do to sort of, I don't know, try to make a dent in Trump's popularity, try to, get their guy to win?
That's a good question. Yeah. I'm not sure. Obviously, these campaigns have a bunch of internal metrics that they're looking at. I'm not
Hmm.
sure like I have an accurate picture of the political landscape at this point. That's why you've got to be completely data driven. The campaigns that
Right.
pull it together, they basically they run these focus groups and they have the pulse of the electorate in certain areas, so they know what campaign topics are going to motivate people to go to the polls.
Hmm.
I think like right now, it being basically a replay of the 2020 election with Trump Biden, I think turnout could be massively suppressed because I do
Suppressed or
think
just low?
low,
Yeah.
depressed, I guess
Yeah, yeah, sure.
is a better term. Yeah. Because people are like, look, I've seen this, we've done this election already. What's going on?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you have any suggestions for Democrats to?
Well, I do,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if any of them could manifest because I think so much of it is reliant on the fact of Joe Biden is just such a bad
Did
candidate.
Biden step down? Right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's a little
Biden
late for
step
that.
aside,
Right.
Gavin Newsom come in, and
Anyone, except for Kamala.
Kamala Harris.
No, not Kamala.
See, I was going to
Anyone.
say
Right.
anyone.
Because like I think one of Biden's biggest problems is we're in a time of kind of uncertainty. And in that, which we were sort of were in the first, the first time Trump and Biden were going head to head. And people generally, in my opinion, they feel uncertain, they want someone that they perceive as like a strong, stabilizing force. And I think part of why Biden won is because they viewed Trump as chaotic and they viewed Biden as more like a return to stability.
But now he's got that chaotic vibe, especially with all this.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And but Biden seems to be not manifesting any of that stability. You have all this conflict going on right now in the Middle East. You have the inflation is still high. People are still feel like things are not the way they have not returned to the normal.
The border
Obviously, can't
stuff
return to normal.
is
The border stuff, that's a good point.
atrocious.
Border,
Yeah.
crime, all these other things. And so now it's weird because now it's like reverse because now Trump is coming in like, I'm going to be the person who reestablishes order, which is ironic because he's like, on one hand, he's simultaneously going to run on reestablishing order, but also tearing things down and bringing more chaos. He's sort of like the sort of interesting, duality, but, where he's kind of manifesting both energies at the same time. And Biden doesn't really offer anything except that he's not Trump. That's the only thing he offers, that he's not Trump. And Biden is too old and weak to be the candidate that says, I'm going to reestablish order, daddy's home, I'm going to bring safety, which is what I think in another world, if there was another candidate who was younger, who could manifest this energy, that's what I would say the Democrats need to do, is they need to run on reestablishing safety and stability. Biden can't do that
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, you make a great point that that was his mission in 2020, and that mission has completely failed
Yeah.
and, publicly failed. No one, he can't point to his record and go, oh, yeah, everything is settled now, right?
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, he can try to, and he will, but the problem is, it's like when you get into these very technical conversations about, well, did Biden's economic policies prevent it from being worse than it was? It's like, okay, that's not going to manifest in the minds of the average person, right? The average person goes to the
No.
grocery store and they say things cost more, and that bothers me. So Biden bad.
Yeah, look, you see David Pakman making these videos that are
Yeah.
like just spitting out the facts, that inflation is down, crime is down, but they're
Right.
all just, they're completely manipulative because he's basically manipulating the statistics to make it seem like it's rosier than it actually is. And I don't
Mhm.
think I don't think that will work. I think the average voter understands that things are not well at this point.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
especially with interest rates like what they are
yes.
and just inflation through the roof. I mean, it's the economy, stupid. I think James Carville is one of the masterminds behind the "It's the Economy, Stupid" with Bill Clinton. So
Yes, I think he was
yeah,
too. Yeah. Yeah. No, like, I don't know. I haven't dug deep enough to really try to come to a good fact claim about, you know, the inflation numbers, whether they've been worse or not. Maybe no one even knows this, how much of Biden's economic policies, if any, really had a big influence on that, as opposed to what the Fed's doing, which they're kind of doing independently of what Biden would necessarily want, or, the crime stuff. I know Sean's made a bunch of videos kind of going through all that stuff. And I've never really dived into any of that stuff. So I don't know what is true or not. But in terms of this question, I don't know if it either what is true or not doesn't really matter. What matters is what people perceive. And I think people are not perceiving it, even if Biden did have a positive impact on the economy or whatever, people are not perceiving it that way. And that's really all that matters. Because they're not going to believe the Dave Packmans of the world if they tell them, even if they tell them something true, if they don't feel it when they go to the grocery store.
yeah. I do not think Biden has had a positive impact on the economy at
Mm-hmm.
all. Like I fundamentally disagree with that. And I mean, it's funny. I always make fun of the Fed people, but at this point, I think the Fed policy is completely backwards and making the economy worse at
Oh
this
my God.
juncture.
Look at this.
So
Adam has come around to the libertarian position, but
no,
for the
look,
exact opposite reason.
I'm not. Look, I'm not in favor of ending the Fed. I think the Fed could serve a valuable purpose if they knew what the hell they were doing. So
Mhm.
yeah, but
Well,
yeah, I do.
it,
I think Biden is in a tough spot because I do think the economy is not going to improve substantially and has a strong chance of getting worse as we
Mhm.
grow closer to November.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to be super influential in the election. And I think it could put Trump back in office just simply because, and this is just like a coincidence of history, the fact that Trump was in office when things were relatively good economically makes him able to point to that and say, look,
Right.
I manage the economy much better than Biden has.
Right.
Yeah. Even though
Well,
most of it is obviously
from
pandemic
COVID.
related.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's, Trump and the Republicans in general, in my opinion, are much better at using human psychology as a manipulative or persuasive, I guess, to be a more neutral way of saying it, a persuasive weapon in these political battles. Because what Trump intuitively knows is that people need an enemy to blame their woes on.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so, the Trump has basically the enemies are the Democrats are ruining the government and, immigrants are ruining the country, right? These are the two enemies to point to. And the Democrats, they point to Republicans as the enemy, but they can't really do that to explain the economy now because the Democrats or Joe Biden is in charge. And so they're not really pointing the finger at like whose fault is it? There's no one that they can blame. And I think that's a huge, huge problem for Biden right now.
That he
Now,
doesn't have a bad guy other
he doesn't
than
have a
Trump.
bad guy to sort of pass the buck to say this is
Right.
the person that's at fault, and if you reelect me, I will do everything in my power to, remove this group of people from power that are causing the economy to suffer, right?
Right.
Now, I don't know if this is the case. I want to like I would love if Biden, came out against wokeness and that would help him win the election. But I don't know if that would actually help him or not. I think we're very much in a weird, turbulent time where the Democrats are starting to wake up to the fact, very slowly, but starting to wake up to the fact that they need to sort of figure out the identity of their party going forward. And they're not really sure what they are anymore, who they are anymore, which is what the
Yeah,
next
that's
couple stories are
another
about.
that's another contentious issue too, because for so long the Democrats have been wielding the racist stick. Like they're the ones that call everyone racist
Right.
and make all of these wild accusations. And in light of all of these college protests and whatnot, I mean, it makes it very hard for them to wield that racist stick credibly, right? Can you
Right.
imagine them coming out and saying, the Republicans are white supremacists, anti-Semites, Nazis, right?
Mhm.
As they've got a bunch of college kids, obviously leftists, marching around college campuses saying, from the river to the sea and
Right.
get out of the Middle East,
Right.
Israel is doing a genocide on the Palestinian people. Like it just all of a sudden, as a credible witness to racism in the public sphere, when you're just like obviously ignoring this, it like you lose considerable amount of credibility, don't you?
Of course. Of
I mean,
course.
and that is the chief argument that Biden ran on in 2020. And look, he's going to pull that same argument out now?
You can't.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah. And you're right, because that was like literally Biden's first campaign ad was, the Charlottesville. Trump said find people on both sides, Charlottesville.
Look, look, they're going to have dueling campaign ads. Biden is going to do a campaign ad with someone from Charlottesville from like fucking a decade ago, right? And Kyle Rittenhouse. And
Right.
Trump is going to do these protests of them chanting from the river to the sea. They're chanting
Yep.
death to the Jews in front of the Sydney Opera House, right? He's
Right.
going to put those up and go, here is the left that supports Joe Biden, right?
You're right. You're completely right.
And all
yeah.
that Charlottesville stuff is just going to be like, what?
Yes. Yeah, you're completely correct. You're completely correct. And you talked about the other day, Seinfeld gave the commencement speech at Duke.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And there's only like a dozen kids that walked out that were, very pro Palestine, but most of them didn't walk out. And actually, when he, was kind of poking and prodding a little bit at wokeness and a little bit at the issue, he seemed to get kind of big applause and laughs from the audience of kids. And so it is, we could very well be setting ourselves up for a situation where the silent majority, especially even in college campuses, are just so sick and tired of like this woke nonsense and just really want it to go away.
Yeah. I love the term preference falsification. It's the idea that there is a silent majority who is just staying quiet because they feel they're going to suffer some sort of social or economic ramifications for speaking
Right.
up. Like they
Right.
don't endorse anything that's going on. They're skeptical of what's going on, but they just keep their mouth shut because they don't want to be a target, right?
And they're also
But
just not as politically motivated on any of this stuff than the extremists are.
Sure, exactly. So, but sooner or later, the dam breaks.
Yes.
And everyone realizes, oh, look, we all agree, and we're like 80% of this population. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we keeping our mouths shut? Why are we being bossed around by these fucking idiots?
Yeah.
Right? That's
I hope
preference falsification. And if we're on the verge of that, Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's very possible. And listen, I hope we are. I'm cautious because there's way too many commentators, especially that we've listened to, who have this notion that like all the silent majority agrees with them. We hear this a lot from progressives. Every person in America is a secret progressive. And if only we had the candidate become more left wing, then everyone would vote for them, right? We've heard this to death, and I
So
think that notion is
we look,
ridiculous.
obviously we
But
don't want to fall into that trap. We
right, that's what
should
I'm
be
saying. I'm
cautious
just
about that.
very cautiously like maybe we're seeing like the little bit of a tiptoeing of this stuff. So we'll find out.
Right. Maybe
But the
the
next
silent majority is more progressive. Is that what you're saying?
no, I don't think they are. I don't think they are. But
Dude, this is tyranny. Nobody wants to live under this regime.
yes, of
Yeah.
course not. Of course not. And that's actually what the next two stories we're going to talk about are, which
Look
are
at
very
you and your
interesting.
segue. It's
I know. Look at that. Bill
amazing.
Clinton in the New York Times. This is very fascinating. Bill Clinton and both New York Times sort of coming out against wokeness.
Is this, you
But
want the New York Times story first,
we'll
or
do
you
the New
want
York
the?
Times one first.
Okay.
Um, But let me read some super chats first. Clowny Moose Bean for 14 months. Thank you so much. Says S Class is an Eastern dragon. A Team is a Western dragon. Together they fight kaijus, attack on Titan style, Sitch and Adam all the way. Look at that.
Hell yeah, that sounds
Thank
awesome.
you. Brian for 10, 20, $30. Thank you so much. Says Democrats' whole message is we are not Trump, while simultaneously allowing the anti-American sentiment on the left to pull them around where the overarching sentiment is anti-American values.
Yeah, how do you play? How does that play in a American election? Come on, get out
Doesn't
of
play
here.
in good, no.
Yeah.
Doesn't play good. And also, Brian says Democrats need to have a message of the values that brought us to this point as the greatest country in the world, and in the future that people can come together rather than the culture of dividing us on our differences. Wow, Brian, you are so correct. Did you already see the Bill Clinton clip? Because that's literally what Bill Clinton said. Unless Brian maybe is actually Bill Clinton in disguise.
Look, I saw this at the Democratic National Convention when Obama was running, and I kept thinking, man, if the Democrats adopted some patriotism along with good economic policies for the working class, they'd be unstoppable. This anti-American bullshit is just weighing the party down. But it's kind of gone away since that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Since that Obama run, obviously it's ancient history now. So
Right. Right. Brian, no, depressed Canadian for 10 Canadian. Thank you. Says the woke counterculture went on steroids as a backlash to Trump in 2017 with Me Too, BLM, and DEI. The leftist insanity will just get worse with Trump in power with purity spirals online and at work. That's the one thing I'm really probably the most worried about if Trump wins the election. It's not necessarily anything Trump will do policy wise, even though I'm sure he'll do a bunch of stuff I disagree with very strongly, but is that him winning again, if he wins again, would just completely, make the left's brain completely melt again. Because, though maybe not, maybe it won't be as bad because I think a lot of what created the original backlash that you're talking about is that so many people, especially in the media, had it so deep in their minds that Donald Trump would not win, that he could not win. This is what everyone was saying. This is what all the media was saying. And when he did win, it completely shattered their worldview. And it put a lot of people, especially a lot of journalists, into a notion of existential dread, where they no longer understood the world in which they operated under. And when they were sort of grasping, they're like sinking. Now that their entire worldview was ripped out from under them, as they're falling and sinking, they're trying to grab onto any life raft that they can to sort of save themselves. And I think they grabbed onto the easiest, quickest life raft thrown out to them, or life preserver, I should say, for my metaphor, thrown to them, which was that America is racist. And that's why they voted for Donald Trump. And that sort of, really helped flame the fuel or the fire, I should say, of the whole woke movement, because that's kind of everything that they say is built around this concept that everything in America is racist.
yeah,
So,
they believed that narrative, but the context now has completely changed on
right. So
that.
that's what I'm saying. This might not that idea might not grab people as much as it did the first time. I think it still will, but maybe not as much.
Look how the chief meme that was propagated on CNN and MSNBC is Trump praised neo-Nazis.
Right.
Like there is that World War II connotation. I just don't see how you can how you can make that argument and say, look, we're better on the left because we would never praise neo-Nazis when you have literally all of these college campus people chanting from the river to the sea. Like
Right.
I don't see how you make that argument. Like we are going to save the country from anti-Semitism when you are literally your party is overrun with anti-Semites. How do you make
Yes.
that argument?
You
How does
can't.
that
Well, you can
argument have any
try, but it's not
credibility
going to be
whatsoever?
as effective. So
Yeah, look to the normie voter.
right.
That's like, look, I was voting for the Democrats because I thought they were going to save me from the Nazis. Turns out they are the Nazis. Like, right?
Yeah, people could think that. Sure, sure. I think people will think that.
That is what caused the left's brains to melt about Trump, right?
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
Right. And now they're like, oh well, maybe Trump was right. Israel are the bad guys. Like Trump was never against Israel, but
Right.
that's the narrative that caused them to lose their minds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brian for $2 says the Fed is doing a great job. Prove me wrong.
Are they? Look, I don't think the Fed really has a lot of tools at their disposal. And Sitch and I have talked about this before because I do think like fiscal policy makes a much bigger difference than monetary policy, which fiscal policy is obviously done by the Congress and spending and what they spend on and budgeting and legislation and all that stuff. So, but it just seems like the few tools that the Fed has at its disposal they're using incorrectly. So,
Mm-hmm. Right, because
anyway.
you think without getting into it too deeply,
Of
you
course,
think
yeah.
that keeping interest rates high it will make the inflation worse, not better.
Yeah.
Right?
There is a screening of Stephanie Kelton's new movie in Hollywood on Wednesday that I'm contemplating going to. And they're
Mm-hmm.
even going to have a Q&A. I was thinking I don't understand why they have to make it they and I saw an interview, I guess it was on Rising, one of these channels, where they were talking to the filmmaker and she's like, we can find the money for all of these left-wing policies. It just screams. They're just stepping in the partisan tribal, sand trap. And it's so bad for people understanding economics clearly, but whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to do it. So,
Yep. Sadly.
yeah. One more, or you want to move on to the
Gene Aaron
story?
Penguin for 19 months. Thank you so much. Says most political movements now are the proverbial house built on sand. If you don't have a well-defined underlying belief system, it will all collapse.
Yeah, good. Yeah, super
There you
true.
go.
Yeah. That's the thing. And I guess maybe you think there's not as much power to this argument, but I do think that that underlying belief with the people losing their mind over Trump was Trump is a white supremacist who wants to, turn America into Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so much going on the left that you're like, oh my God, the left is trying to turn America into Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think the right has a credible case to come out and say, what? We're supporting Israel. What are you talking about?
Right, right.
We're the racist bad guys who want to resurrect Adolf Hitler? Who are you? What?
Mm-hmm.
We want to send billions of dollars to Israel so that they can defend themselves from the terrorists.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Right.
They have such a credible argument against, and maybe some brains. I mean, that's a lot of cognitive dissonance to hold. Leftists do have a lot of ability to hold cognitive dissonance, but like that could break the dam, Sitch.
It could. It very well could. I don't know if it will make people come out to vote for Trump who wouldn't otherwise, but I think it could depress
Yes.
the people coming out to vote for Biden who would have voted for
Voter
him.
turnout. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yes. Yeah.
But breaking news, Adam. Breaking news just came in. This is the most important thing that we've ever talked about on this show. Okay.
All right,
You
good.
ready for this?
Dying for it.
Tomorrow, the first teaser trailer for Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power Season 2 comes out.
My God. Really? Well, we're definitely gonna have to watch that together. Rings, they're really?
Yes,
Did
they
they
made
spend
a
$1
season
billion
two.
on that piece of shit?
They made a season two. I'm curious actually. What was the budget for
They spent $1 billion on that first season. It was such crap.
yeah, I know.
Oh my God. They're like, what happens when we get 10 Hollywood girl boss writers into a room together? The Rings of Power, season 2.
Uh-huh. I
Oh
am
God.
I am interested if you'll see a substantial decline in production values, which would show
Oh,
that
I
they,
hope so.
did not throw the amount of money they threw at the first season. They're like, not sure about
Yeah.
this one. So,
I hope they're running around on, the horse with the broom on the
mhm.
broom handle. Like,
They have like the Monty Python that would be amazing. Oh my God. That would be such a good way to save the show. As if season two is just like a parody. You see like they're all running around Monty Python style and like sticks with coconuts,
they're
hopping in the
s-
background.
they're still going to cling to the narrative that it was a huge
Of
success and
course they
everybody
will.
loved it,
Yes.
and J.R. Tolkien fans are just swimming in platitudes for
Oh,
our
sure.
amazing show. Yeah, they love to rewrite history like that.
hmm
All right, so the New York Times,
Okay.
a way back from campus chaos, an
Right. Now
editorial, right?
they did change the title of this article.
Oh, what was the more incendiary title?
Let me see if I can find it. It was something like we need accountability on
Oh,
college campuses.
that's so bad. They're
It
like,
was,
let's accountability is a little harsh.
oh, here we go. It was a failure of leadership at American universities.
Wow.
Right.
Calling out failure. Now they're like, look, we'll be a little nicer here, you losers who have
Now,
failed.
this photo they have is hilarious. If you see it, it's like you got someone erecting two wooden, like, I don't know what you call
Yeah,
them,
plywood.
big plywood like protection borders, and you see a hand like behind it. You can interpret this in two ways. It can either be a student erecting the border to protect themselves from the outside world, or the way I like to interpret it is this is the New York Times like a hedgehog, not hedgehog, a groundhog, very slowly about to peek its head out of out from its safety box and be like, wokeness might not be good idea, everybody. Like it's like the very tepid first steps to be like testing the waters to see what's going to happen. That's how I interpret this little picture. And this is important
Wow.
because this opinion piece, you see the top, this is from the editorial board of the paper. Okay. It's not just some random Joe Schmo. This is the editors of the paper itself. This is their opinion. Okay.
Right, but I mean, isn't that their safeties and numbers move, like a plausible deniability? Oh, that wasn't my part.
To an
That
extent, but
incendiary part that you guys hated. Nobody
sure.
wrote that.
Sure, but this is like essentially like the bosses of the paper coming out and saying this.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Right. So let's go down, or I'm gonna scroll down to the one, two, three, four, five, six paragraph that starts with the point
How's
of
it start?
protest. If you're
The
following
point.
along.
I am going to follow along. The
Okay.
point of protest is to
Yeah.
break such rules.
Okay. Right. So they're talking about, so the first part, they kind of talk about the importance of, in their opinion, the importance of why, students should be able to protest and disrupt and do these things just in general and historically at college campuses, which I don't necessarily agree with. But the point of protest is to break such rules, of course, and to disrupt daily routines so profoundly as to grab the world's attention and sympathies. Campuses should be able to tolerate some degree of disruption, which is inherent to any protest. That makes it even more important that school administrators respond when the permissible limits of speech are violated. During the current demonstrations, a lack of accountability helped produce a crisis. It has left some Jewish students feeling systematically harassed. it has deprived many students of access to parts of campus life. On campuses where in-person classes or commencement exercises were canceled, students have watched their basic expectations for university experience evaporate. And at times, the protesters themselves have been directly endangered. The disarray and violence of the past weeks have been escalated by the continued involvement of both police and external agitators. So they're definitely trying to hit like a both sides thing here at first. Amid the
Well,
protests,
I do like the inclusion of the word sympathies. Like we're supposed to
right.
grab the world's attention and their sympathies. And when you're being such giant pricks, you're totally not grabbing their sympathies at all. You're failing.
Of course,
Yeah.
which is what's going on in the situation.
Yep.
Amid the protests, there have been much discussion on both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, and when the line is crossed into hate speech, there are profound risks to imposing overly expansive definitions of inappropriate speech, and universities were rightly chided for doing so in the past, but should be easy to agree that no student, faculty member, administrator, or university staff member on campus should be threatened or intimidated. School policies should reflect that, and they should be enforced when necessary. In longer term, a lack of clarity around acceptable forms of expression and a failure to hold those who break those norms to account has opened up the pursuit of higher learning to the whims of those motivated by hypocrisy and cynicism. Okay. Now, this is interesting. This opinion piece is a call to the Democrats and to the left, who's primarily the reading based in New York Times here. So they say, for years, right-wing Republicans at the federal and state level have found opportunities to crusade against academic freedom, with charges of anti-Semitism on campus serving as the latest vehicle. Speaker Mike Johnson of the House of Representatives used this movement of chaos to cover to begin a legislative effort to crack down on elite universities, and lawmakers in the House recently passed a proposal that would impose egregious government restrictions on free speech. The Senate should reject those efforts unequivocally. So that was the anti-Semitism Title VI bill.
Right.
So
yeah.
they did leave out, which again, they're saying this because they're trying to be persuasive to the left. They did, of course, leave out that there was, a huge amount of Democrats also voted in favor of that anti-Semitism bill too. So.
Wow.
The absence of steady and principled leadership is what opened the campus gates to such cynicism in the first place. For several years, many university leaders have failed to act as their students and faculty have shown even greater readiness to block an expanding range of views they deem wrong or beyond the pale. Some scholars report that this has a chilling effect on their work, making them less willing to participate in the academy or in the wider world of public discourse. The price of pushing boundaries, particularly with more conservative ideas, has become higher and higher.
Yep.
Wow. So that's an interesting paragraph. So they're directly saying all this woke speech restrictions are causing problems.
Yeah, they've hurt us. They've
Yes.
tangibly affected our ability to make tangible change in the world. Yeah.
Now it's fascinating. So and I'm going to continue reading, but they're like tiptoeing here. Like they're tiptoeing the waters because they are saying, look, there's a bunch of woke left college kids on campus that are like ruining everything, but they don't. It's interesting. They're not brave enough, or maybe they think it's not persuasive enough to directly say like this is wokeness or this is left-wing, like too far left-wing college campus kids. They're just kind of being vague with their terminology of who they're referring to. They're like, you know who I'm talking about, but we're not going to say it.
Yeah, look, this article is almost done, and I'm thinking, what pussies? Like they're just
Yes.
warming up.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Schools ought to be teaching their students that there is as much courage in listening as there is in speaking up.
Well, that's good.
That's great, yeah. It has not gone unnoticed on campuses, but also by members of Congress and by the public writ large, that many of those who are now demanding the right to protest have previously sought to curtail the speech of those whom they declared hateful.
Yeah, that's why everyone is like losing their minds. There's so much
Yes.
hypocrisy, just bold-faced hypocrisy, right in front of them.
And that's the thing that we haven't pointed out to a lot, which we should, because if we had a different set of circumstances where the left hasn't been trying to cancel everyone for everything, for any minor disagreement, especially in these college campuses, right? If if we were existing in an alternate reality where the left had been just very permissive about letting everyone's opinions be heard and not engage in cancel culture, I do think there would be, even though people still wouldn't like it, there would be a lot less pushback on some of these college encampments and all these other things, because you're right, it's the perception, the correct perception of the massive hypocrisy of sort of the further, radical left students who are demanding that they should have a free speech right to live on campus in encampments indefinitely until their demands are met, when they would have zero tolerance for anything remotely like this from someone that they would disagree with.
Yeah, they come off as authoritarian bullies.
Yes.
When they're like, no conservative can speak on campus without it threatening my existence.
Right.
But then you can say the most incendiary things and say, oh, well, look, we have a free speech culture here.
Yes.
Like, it's just not credible, not remotely credible.
And it's really gross and disgusting to me that when I see left-wing commentators who are like, I thought the right cared about free speech. Why are they not supporting free speech now? And it's like, well, wait a minute. First of all, free speech never entailed like having these encampments and, not letting students go to the areas of this campus and taking over buildings or any of this stuff, number one. Number two, you don't get to play that game when the left has been the party that's been predominantly trying to curtail free speech for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the massive flip-flop is obvious.
Yes.
We should all just embrace that. That's the thing that makes me nervous, is that, obviously they're going to put Jewish people back into the woke hierarchy of oppression and start making laws that are further going to curtail people's free speech, when this should just be the wake-up call that we should just go back to having a discourse. Look, and that is also super annoying because, I mean, you did have people like Milo Yiannopoulos, who was obviously a bomb thrower. Like, he was saying stuff intentionally to be divisive and incendiary. But then you had other conservatives that were just like rank and file conservatives that were not really saying incendiary things, but it was being recast as like racism or sexism or homophobia.
Right.
And then there was giant cancel mob campaigns to like ruin these people's lives over nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, people were like losing their mind for them just talking, as opposed to, they weren't creating like encampments in these colleges that were preventing students from accessing certain parts of the campus.
Yeah. Call it what it is. Look, if you are going to be an authoritarian bully and you're like, look, we only want our ideas spoken because we're in a cult and we know our ideas can't stand up to scrutiny, just say that. Like, if that's your game plan, just admit it. Mm-hmm. Tell everyone you're a fucking piece of shit.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. Look, we're little Hitlers. We're little dictators, and we don't want anybody else talking who says things we disagree with. And we want to be able to say whatever we want, and people have to listen to it and shut up and take it. That's literally your position.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And the last paragraph says, establishing a culture of openness and free expression is crucial to the mission of educational institutions. This includes clear guardrails on conduct and enforcement of those guardrails, regardless of the speaker or the topic. Doing so would not only help restore order on college campuses today, but also strengthen the cultural bedrock of higher education for generations to come.
Right. Look, they're like, we're indoctrinating a bunch of kids that are going to come out as worthless idiots, and then they're going to run the country.
Yes.
Scary.
So this is interesting. So we even have the editorial board of the New York Times creeping out very tepidly to be like, maybe this wokeness has gone too far.
They didn't use the term woke.
They did not. They did not
need
dare.
a new term. Woke has just become like a pejorative, but there's not really a good term to use. So
not yet. Yeah.
Someday it'll come up and it'll a ray of light,
and then it will get overused and then worthless and a new one.
Well, look, we'll use it in good stead until that happens.
Of course. But and it's funny now. Obviously, even though they didn't name names or and I think this is I'm very happy about this, but it is very tepid. There was still, all the people on the far left all came out and they were obviously lose their mind attacking this piece, attacking New York Times, saying New York Times is some kind of conservative rag now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The right wing grift has begun at the New York Times.
Yes, yes. People were saying that. A lot of people were saying this was what's hilarious too. A lot of people were saying that the New York Times is now taking their marching orders from Christopher Rufo for this piece, which is
Why do
so.
they look? Why did they do that? Because you know Christopher Rufo is going to be like, "Yep, that's right." Like he's totally going to step into the breach and say, "Look, you're going to give me credit? Hell, I'll take it."
Yeah, this guy said,
Look, we're making the New York Times bend over backwards to our agenda, and everyone knows it. They're even acknowledging it in left wing media.
this guy tweeted out, I think he's like a fairly big account on the left. He said, I heard Christopher Rufo made A.G. Sulzberger, who's the head of the New York Times, pick up his dry cleaning. And when he got to Rufo's place, Rufo made him get down on all fours and bark like a little doggy. And Sulzberger did as he was ordered. That's what I heard anyway.
These, man, my description is so perfect. These people are fucking dictators, man.
Mm-hmm.
They are authoritarian thugs. They are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They just look. They don't want to have honest dialogue. They want to beat you into submission. They want you to shut up and die. That's what they want. They do. Look, they think they're on the right side of history. They think they have the moral high ground. They think you are monsters.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't want you. They don't want you to be able to disseminate any ideas into the world.
Yep.
How is that any different than a Stalin or a Mao or a Hitler? How is that any different?
It's not. Obviously, that this is an authoritarian mind. Yeah, that's the problem, is that the ideology is not rooted in liberalism. It's rooted in Marxism, which is authoritarian by nature.
They're little Xi Jinpings, man.
Yes.
They want the New York Times to be the next TikTok. Look, we need to just indoctrinate people. Shut up. How dare you try to bang out what the best ideas would be?
Of course. Now,
How dare you try to bang?
Christopher Rufo did respond to these accusations.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
He had two tweets on it that are pretty funny. He said, left-wing academics and journalists are pushing the conspiracy theory that I set the agenda at the New York Times, the Atlantic, and the New Yorker. The truth is
I just want to say that that's true.
That's true. Yeah, no. He says the truth is simpler. I do the reporting, make the argument, and persuade a strong majority to my position. No conspiracy required.
See, look, Rufo is just, he plays with an open hand. A lot of people are disappointed by that because he'll say things like, oh, my strategy is to make everyone think critical race theory is evil.
Right.
But,
but it
he's
is
being honest about it.
That's true.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly.
And then underneath it, he says, for the record, New York Times owner A.G. Sulzberger does not pick up my dry cleaning. Does not bark like a little dog at my command. I have never met Mr. Sulzberger. Dr. Cruz might consult a psychologist or perhaps a sexologist to deal with his strange fantasy.
That's so cool.
There you go.
That is so cool.
That's a good response.
It's a great response. Yeah. Oh, man. That's another thing. These people are just, it's so funny that they're the left and the leftists are so much about squashing hierarchies or flattening hierarchies when all of them just seem so obviously jockeying for position in the leftist hierarchy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, Death by Sloth says something in the chat, which is kind of relative or related to what you were saying about the authoritarianism, which is not only is it the shutting down of ideas, but we've seen, a lot of people run up to students or celebrities and they're like, they demand that they give their position on some political current events issue.
Yeah.
And if they don't give the opinion they want to hear, then it's like, oh, well, now we're going to cancel you. Now you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Which is definitely it's definitely like witch trialing. Like, we need to run up to everyone and you have to give the right politically correct opinion or, you get the gulag essentially.
Right.
So
you have to pick up my dry cleaning and get on all fours and bark like a dog. Otherwise, we're going to cancel your shit. Yeah.
Exactly. And you were completely correct in terms of a lot of these people who are on the far radical left, their position, especially on the Israel thing, is so one-sidedly rooted in this idea that they're on the moral side of history. And so therefore the hypocrisy about free speech on campus doesn't bother them, that because they're like, well, we're just morally right. So obviously that's why we get to do what we get to do. and you guys were morally wrong in the past, so shut up and deal with it.
How does that make you feel? Because it's
Makes
almost like they're
me,
ordained by God.
yeah, it makes me say F off. That's what it makes me say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I've heard this line before. Yes. You've got your ideas have divine inspiration. Yes, I get where you're coming from here.
Yes.
But I think you're incorrect.
Right. In the book of radical leftism, you can pull it up. Mr. Borelli for $10. Look at that. Says, I believe that Trump only won in 2016 because he ran against the most unlikable politician ever, Hillary Clinton. He would have been annihilated by Newsom or Michelle.
That's a great point.
Michelle who? Michelle Obama?
Michelle Bachmann?
She wasn't
Oh
running.
no, she was a Republican.
But well,
Oh, Michelle Obama. Well, who are you thinking?
I don't know.
Come on, Michelle Obama. That's obvious.
I don't agree with Michelle. If you mean Michelle Obama, I don't know who you're referring to. I don't
Look,
agree.
I agree. I agree. Trump would have been annihilated by Michelle Obama. I totally agree with that.
I don't. You think the country would have voted for Obama and then directly after Obama vote for his wife? I think that would have been like, whoa, what is this? A political dynasty? I think people would have been like, maybe like I'm saying, if there was some space in between them, I don't think they want to vote for a husband-wife combo back to back.
I think as soon as Michelle Obama, I mean, she's far more charismatic than Hillary Clinton. I mean, I agree it's a hurdle to overcome because you want to get rid of that
Ron DeSantis
dynasty thing.
Might be slightly more charismatic than Hillary Clinton. Okay, that's a very low bar.
Well, yeah. Look, I do think that could very well be true. The Hillary Clinton factor we didn't really talk about, and I do think the Hillary Clinton factor is
no, that's true.
Is Biden as bad as Hillary Clinton at this point? I mean, maybe.
I don't think I don't think he's as bad as Hillary Clinton, but
like no one can be that bad. It's
yeah.
Dark matter of anti-charisma.
Right. I mean, and she was really hated for a long time, for reasons that some of them weren't her fault, and some of them obviously were her fault. And a lot of it was her horrible lack of the pit of hole that is her charisma. And that's a good point. I mean, that's definitely an issue. I think if it was Newsom or someone else, I don't even remember who were the other people running in 2016 against Hillary besides Bernie. I think Bernie would have beat Trump.
Bernie would have won.
Yeah, I think Bernie would have definitely won. I think Newsom probably would have won.
Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas.
That's interesting. So Elizabeth Warren has no charisma either, but
I know.
But she's not like, she wasn't hated the way that Hillary not only had no charisma, she had negative charisma. People really didn't like her.
The Elizabeth Warren has old lady voice though. Her voice trembles when it talks, which is I don't think people can vote for a commander in chief that has a trembling voice. It's one of the reasons why I think JFK just doesn't stand a chance. Yeah.
Right,
he sounds like he's literally dying. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it is RFK. Yeah.
Yeah.
He sounds like he's on his deathbed.
Yeah, no, it's true. He sounds weak. So yeah, so the other candidates, I don't even remember these guys. There was Lincoln Chaffee, Martin O'Malley, and Jim Webb. I don't remember these fucking people. That's how unimportant they were. But anyway. Brian for $10 says, I'm going to make a very persuasive tweet so you guys can throw MMT in the trash. And we can all laugh about the MMT phase. Be ready, guys. I'm going to change your mind. Okay, listen. I'm open-minded here, okay? I'm ready. Persuade me, Brian. I'm a willing vessel, all right?
Don't begin with a straw man. That's the thing. Sitch and I both have a mental model in our minds about how the monetary system works. And I mean, we've put some time and energy into developing that map that you guys just seem completely unaware of. So you keep throwing stuff at us and we're like, oh no, look, that's a dead end on the map right here. Look, we've talked about this a million times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I wish some of you would make the investment to understand it first. Just say, look, for the sake of argument, let me pretend that this is all true and let me understand it as a logical system. And then you can start to pick it apart. But when you don't
Right.
even understand it, a lot of the critiques you guys give me are I'm just like, why?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. If you start off with a straw man, then it's already like, oh, well, you don't even understand the position, so everything
Yeah,
else falls to the
exactly.
wayside.
True. I mean, that's the purpose of a straw man, right? To
Yeah.
beat easily.
Stug for $5 says, okay, we can have a Fox News segment about how stupid and awful the Groypers are, neo-reactionaries, and red pillars are now. Then I'll be happy-ish. That would be great. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be that surprised if you don't see that coming. That I wouldn't be that surprised if you don't see that coming in the next month or two.
Yeah. I don't watch a lot of Fox News, but they do seem to, like, I feel like I've occasionally seen clips where they're bad mouthing racist or racism.
Hmm.
I mean, that's like a thing now.
Of course. Mason George for 7 months says, have you seen the commencement ceremony? Announcer very badly mispronouncing everyone's names. The college issued an apology. S class is the best class. I didn't see that now. That's
That's
hilarious
funny.
though. What, they
Oh,
have me do it? Jeez. Telegore for $10 says it's such a black pill that we're witnessing a race between the two oldest and least approved candidates in history.
yes. That's definitely going to depress
It's
turnout.
hilarious. Yeah, hilarious. Zero for 10 months says, I think you should do media reviews on Thursday. Also, you should cover the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I thought it was a pretty good despite the gay ape.
Why is Thursday a good day? But look, I'm open to that.
Sure, we can. Yeah,
We
I'm
have
open to
not been
that.
able to stream on a lot of Thursdays though.
Right.
So, I mean, Wednesday might be a better day for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think we should start doing media reviews one day a week. I just
100%.
I've got a lot of shit going on right now in my personal life, and I also am working on getting the comic printed. Sitch and I are going to go through the comic today, so he can give feedback on the final cut of the dialogue, and then I have a like proofreader friend of mine that I used to work with on my screenplays that is going to go through it and make sure there's no typos and stuff like that. So
Nice.
we got to do that before we can send it off to the printer. Sitch is working on the drawings
The
that
custom Sitch drawings.
this custom Sitch drawings that you guys have ordered. I think you paid like $50 a piece for these hand done drawings. And I told Sitch, I'm like, instead of doing 10, do 30 of them. Maybe we'll do a live stream where we give you guys the opportunity to get some more before we
Mm-hmm.
close the
If you
campaign.
want to draw
So
my amazing, I mean, if you want to buy my amazing high quality artwork,
look,
then yes.
this can I mention the thing that we talked about, the price thing, or is that like, should that be top secret?
I know what you're talking about, so probably not.
Okay,
But,
well, we won't. I guess we won't talk about it.
right.
We'll talk about it afterwards, and then
Okay.
I think I'll talk Sitch into letting us talk about it. But
Okay.
that's what's going on with the comic. Obviously, I'm super late. A lot of stuff has happened, so I'm doing my best, guys. Thanks,
Right.
obviously. And look, I've been contemplating like sending a thing out, like an announcement to thank all of the backers because you guys have been super gracious with your patience. Just like doing a thank you where you guys can put your name in the book and say, you guys made it happen type thing. So look for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and also, I'll be honest, I've not seen a single one of these Planet of the Apes sequels. So I've heard that they're good, but I haven't seen a single one of them.
I might not have seen a single one. I think I saw the first remake of Planet of the Apes with Marky Mark, right?
That was like a
Mark
billion
Wahlberg.
years ago. Yeah, that's not related to
Yeah.
any of these sequels. I mean, I'm sorry, sequels, prequels. That's not related to any of these prequels, I don't believe. So
What do you mean? I think some of the apes, I think not the human characters were reused, but I think some of the ape characters were reused. Like, isn't Caesar a main character in the series? The main ape?
in the Mark Wahlberg remake,
Yeah.
I don't remember. It's been so long, but
I think Caesar's like a main character throughout, but I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't think I've seen any of the.
remember the weird twist at the end of that when he comes back and there's like the Lincoln Memorial is like a monkey. It's like a Lincoln monkey. You remember
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, I do.
Everyone was like, "What the hell?" Yeah.
Lincoln was a monkey.
Yes. Oh my God.
Can you do that today without being canceled for
Is that
racism?
offensive? Somehow he was white. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. But I mean, he
But
is the
the great
president that
emancipator. Yeah,
freed the slaves and
that's
whatnot,
true.
right? Can you even say slave anymore?
I
I
don't
feel like
know.
someone's going to cancel us just for saying slave.
You have to think like person of I don't know, like person of no freedom. I don't know,
Liberty.
liberty. You have to figure out some like retarded way to phrase it. But anyway, Zero for 10 months
Unhoused.
says, I think we should do media reviews on. Oh, I read the one. Moondog for $10 says, sometimes I fear the Pandora's box has already opened, and there are different groups from different political spectrums that want to control culture. I mean, that's definitely happening. The thing is that is always happening. There's always extreme groups around us at all times trying to control society and culture, always trying to pull us in that direction. And then the question is that there are certain events that happen where a lot of like just all the right things happen at the right time to make certain groups able to finally sink their claws into things and pull in that direction. And so, but I think I don't think we're too far gone in any direction yet to sort of, to cede control to one of these extreme groups.
The
I'm not
new
convinced yet.
technology plays a role in it, obviously, because
Sure.
new technology allows different players to take over economically, and I think that's a huge part of this. Like the mainstream media basically lost its monopoly on political discussion,
Hmm.
and all of these other players have kind of come in, and like a new landscape is forming, all of this new territory to be uh, capitalized on was kind of created, and that's part of this culture war. Do you
Right.
agree, or do you think that's
I agree
silly?
completely. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Depressed Canadian for 10 Canadian says Biden was originally going to run in 2016 as a one-term president and beat Trump as his election would have been seen as Obama's third term. Biden was much sharper then, but Obama talked him out of it. Yeah, no, I definitely think Biden could have won in 2016 easily. Well, maybe not easily, but he definitely would have won over Hillary, even though Obama's approval wasn't the greatest near the end of his presidency. I think Biden was definitely a lot more liked than Hillary Clinton was. So
Well, and he won against Trump, which
that's
Hillary
true in
Clinton didn't
2020. Yeah.
lose.
So,
Yeah.
Instant Sacks, thank you so much for joining the Free Will Seekers.
Yeah,
And
welcome.
welcome. And thank you, Edward Sr., for the 5 gifted memberships.
Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome new members. So we're gonna do one more story real quick, and then
We are, but I have a couple Streamlabs to read first.
okay.
Sitch's mom, look at that, it's my mother, for $2 says, Sitch, I'm here to answer the real JQ. Why was I not on the show yesterday? Well, I was too busy throwing a Mother's Day's late night party. Oh, if only a certain son of mine could have been there instead of with his work wife. There you
Yeah, you're
go.
so bad.
I know.
Jeez.
You're worth it, Adam. Alternator for $5 says, regardless of the 2024 outcome, the Democrat Party line in 2028 has to be we're going to enforce order, we're going to make people safe, we love America, and anyone who says otherwise has no place here. End of story. I mean, that'd be great. I don't know if they will, but that would be definitely a great thing to do.
Were you watching politics when there was that Democratic national convention where I mean they had like who are the people that their kids are killed in combat? They call them like some family member, Gold Star family or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They had a bunch of Gold Star family members come forward and just I mean their talks were just like dripping with patriotism, and I was thinking these are the Democrats. Oh my God. Like
That's
this.
what you need. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like unstoppable. Are you telling me working class people don't like? I mean, this is the college kids that want to hear about how America sucks.
Right.
Normal people don't want to hear that,
They
right?
don't.
They
Yeah.
think, what the fuck am I working my ass off for a country that stinks?
Yep.
Yeah. So I just, I don't know that I've really paid much attention to a Democratic convention since then.
Hmm.
But look, it's this. I'll be watching this year. Well, it'll
Yep.
be interesting to see. They're probably. It's probably going to be a bunch of Trump is a Nazi and the Republican convention is probably going to be a bunch of. You think we're Nazis? Look at you.
Right. Solidosh Jar says, "You guys are blowing things at the college protests way out of proportion. You need to understand that there are fine people on both sides of the protest."
Yeah, look, I'm waiting for that.
I mean, Biden kind of did do that. I mean, he didn't say it quite those words, but he did sort of do that in one of his statements. So
Did he really?
yeah,
Wow.
he kind of said like, the protesters are being, ridiculous, or too violent or too anti-Semitic, but also, we need to listen to like the good ones. So he did have his sort of both sides moment.
Believe it or not, primaries are still going on. The last primary is on June 4th. Did you hear the story about Nikki Haley getting a substantial number of votes in one of these
No,
late stage primaries?
it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, a lot of people were trying to make hay about it, especially on the Democratic side, because they're like, Trump is vulnerable. Like, if Trump is so unliked that he's already cinched the nomination and people are willing to show up in droves to vote for Nikki Haley just as like a protest vote.
Well, I would say that's only true if in that whatever I don't know what state this was, but if in that state the turnout was super low, because I could imagine turnout would be super low because everyone assumes Donald Trump already won the primary, so people
Oh,
could just
yeah.
not show
So,
up.
yeah, this is what I'm telling you about.
Holtonator
It's,
for $5 says, "We can't have a woman in charge of the biggest nuclear stockpile on Earth. It's going to be that time of the month. Someone's going to crack a ground by the pussy joke, and World War III is going to start." This one was a joke, by the way. There you go. There you go. That's true. That's true. They've been saying that for years. Can't have a woman. She's gonna nuke the world on her period. Okay. This is a very interesting clip. This is Bill Clinton a few days ago, uh, basically also coming out against identity politics. Can you believe that?
yeah, why did you send me this in Mundo Amanito?
Because I couldn't find any English articles talking about
Okay.
that.
That was my
Oh, no,
chief
no, bring
question,
up
but
the watch together. We'll watch the clip of it. I'm not gonna read the article.
okay, let's do it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I got the clip, and I made the little clip here for us to watch. It's very interesting. And this is right in the beginning of the speech too. Now it's funny because of course this didn't get a super lot of press because I guess a lot of people don't want to see old white Democrats talking about how identity politics is bad. But anyway, so is it up?
It is.
Okay, let's listen to this.
What I said was wrong with the current moment is also more true today. I mean, anytime you spend all your time trying to settle past grievances or trying to focus on our differences instead of figuring out how to make common cause for a shared future we all want, I think you're in trouble. And I think we have been through a period when, for any number of reasons, the political rewards of grievance-based politics and essentially name-calling and being negative have been so immense that nobody could give them up, knowing all along, including members of the mainstream media, not just the right-wing media, knowing all along that if you didn't give them up, it put our system and our country and our kid and our grandchildren's future in peril. And I basically think that's what this whole shebang has come down to now. Oh, it's not tribalism. We are all tribal. We can't build identities except with reference to other people with different identities. And we're in the basketball playoffs now. If you're for one of these teams, you can't be for another. It's a zero-sum game. But there is what I would call inclusive tribalism and divisive tribalism, and the big political benefits have come from divisive tribalism. But it is a potential endless disaster because our capacity, if we cooperate, to solve every challenge we face, including all the things you've done so much wonderful work on over the years, is unlimited. But we can't do it unless we work together and acknowledge that requires us to work. Say, look, we have all these differences, but what we have in common is so much more important. What do you say we work on it? That, I think, is the key question facing not just the United States, but so many countries in the world today.
So, wow, Bill Clinton coming out against grievance-based identity politics. Very, very obviously referring to wokeness in that statement.
Yeah, great stuff.
So we have the New York Times saying, hey, maybe cancel culture was a mistake. You have Bill Clinton saying it. Listen, I am positive here. I'm going to be optimistic, okay? As I said,
That's
you
unusual.
know who's going to save America? Do you know, Adam, who's going to save America from the woke mind virus?
Is it Israel?
It's the Jews! It's the Jews. Their people are seeing it. They finally were able to wake up. Now that they see what's going on against a minority, against the Jews, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Maybe Christopher Rufo was on to something. Maybe it wasn't just crying wolf. Maybe these kids are a little crazy. Maybe something's going on here.
He used the framing that's really close to the framing that Haidt uses in Coddling of the American Mind. I'm curious if that's where he got it, because he said like there's divisive identity politics and there's like inclusive identity politics, I think he said.
Yes.
And Haidt's terminology was common enemy identity politics and common humanity identity politics. And he does make this clear distinction between the two. Like, and we always talk about, we have to be conscious of this when we talk about immigration policy, and the left is really weak on this. They want to let everybody come in and do whatever they want. And we think, well, to some extent, you have to build a national identity. Otherwise, the nation can't cohere. So, I mean, you got to do something. You can't just do nothing. So, and that really is the common humanity identity politics.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And that is sort of the big problem too, is that, if you don't have, in the past when we had a lot of immigration, there was a much stronger American attitude. At least it seems like it. There's a much stronger American attitude of assimilation and American exceptionalism and pride in America, in its citizens, and also people that were coming to America to become citizens. And so I think that, that made a lot of people assimilate into the country, very effectively. But when we have a completely different culture where so many people are poisoning, the American cultural waves with America as evil and disgusting and horrible, and at the same time you have a lot of people immigrating the country, to me that like raises a big fear of, well, then a lot of people are not going to assimilate or even have a desire to assimilate, because you're basically telling them all that America sucks, right?
Yeah, why would you want to assimilate?
Exactly. And that is a big problem. That is a big concern, I think, that we're sort of seeing materialize. But
I read that only 3% of the population will immigrate to some place different, to a new nation, like out.
On
it's
average,
kind of like,
you mean? Like for like any country?
Like for for just the world population, that the only 3% of the world population people have this desire to immigrate to some faraway place. I don't know how they did this study. So, I mean, it could be wrong, but it immediately made me think of, okay, well, there is this finite resource of population that will even pick up and move to another nation. And the nations really are kind of like platforms that are like, which if 3% of the population wants to do this, they're kind of looking out at the landscape of different places they can move. And they're like, which platform is going to be the best suited for my success, right? And America has really capitalized on that by making, I think we're the leader. This is a place that people want to come because they think they can be successful here. But just kind of conceptualizing that that immigrant population as a resource to be exploited.
Right.
It really got my like colonialist intuitions. It's like, look, we used to have to go out and go to them. Now they come to us.
Hmm.
Make we're doing improvements here.
Well, I wonder,
I
it's actually interesting. It's kind of like a form of what you're saying. It'd be like a form of not reverse colonialism, but like inverted colonialism. So it's like, well, instead of us going to your place to take your valuable stuff, we'll sit here and your
and
valuable
take your
stuff will come to
valuable
us.
people. Yeah.
Right. Your valuable people come to us. And I think I kind of looked it up. I think maybe the statistic you're referring to is that there's some statistic that says like only 3.5% of the world population lives in a different country than they were born.
Right.
So
Well, that might be where they got
they
the
extrapolated. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I would say that part of the issue too is that I mean, that number and the way to conceptualize it could vary drastically based on like people who leave their country when the country is like stable or somewhat stable versus if people leaving the country when it's like falling apart. Because then obviously that changes the
The
like the
numbers,
population,
yeah,
right? And the type of people that would leave the country,
dramatically.
and everything, because you might not get people that have that quote immigrant pluck, as they call it, the sort of more, because obviously on average, it would take a sort of type A go-getter to leave the country they're born in a risk-taking, very risk-taking behavior to like go to a completely different country with a different language, a different culture, essentially, and try your luck there.
But that's the
So
attitude to win in business.
it
Like
is,
all
right?
the business leaders are risk takers. They have an
Yes.
appetite for risk that most people just cannot fathom.
Yes, right. But so I
Yeah.
think that's why we would have a lot of success with immigration in the past in America is because you get more of that group of people. But maybe
Yeah.
not. I mean, there's still, people coming. Obviously, a lot of Irish came because of famine. A lot of Jews came because of, they're being basically
Holocaust.
driven out
Yeah.
of their, yeah, even the Holocaust, even before the Holocaust, there were a lot of pogroms that were attacking Jews. A lot of immigrants were leaving, have always been leaving for, those sorts of reasons. So I don't know. But there is actually an interesting video we might watch tomorrow or sometime in the future that's kind of has to do with this topic, which is I don't know if you saw Vivek Ramaswamy interviewed Ann Coulter.
I saw people talking about it. I didn't actually see the interview, but
Yeah,
we
and
should return to Vivek.
well, it is kind of fascinating because like the people, so a clip that was kind of put up as promotional, which everyone reacted to. I don't think anyone actually watched the whole interview, but, but they're reacting to this clip where Ann Coulter said that she would never vote for Vivek because he's Indian. And she
Right.
was basically laying out sort of a ethno-nationalist view of like a Christian nationalist, ethno-nationalist view that we should only vote for like white Christians to be
Well, we should
president.
watch that then. That's
Yeah,
definitely.
which is interesting because I mean I've obviously never liked Ann Coulter. I didn't think she was racist, so it's kind of interesting to hear her make that statement. And it was also interesting to hear Vivek, push back on this stuff because
Which he should. Maybe look. We've had bad things to say about
of
Vivek, but
course. Of
yeah.
course. Yeah, but this is one of the issues I've been very happy to agree with him on, which is that, he tweeted out that America was unlike most nations which are built on some kind of ethnic related nationalism, America was built on a civic nationalism. And of course, when he tweeted that out, a lot of people got very, very mad about that statement
Yeah,
because,
they got super angry.
right.
Look,
So,
Americans come in all colors.
of
It's
course.
just that's the way it is. Yeah. And that's based and true. But I
Mr.
guess there are a
Yeah.
lot of people who disagree with that. Look, I want to go back just to the Nikki Haley thing because I brought it up and I did look it up. So here's a headline from what is this AP? Haley won 1 in 5 Indiana Republican voters in the presidential primary. She left the race in March. So it's like, okay. So she gets 20% of the vote. You're right. It could be totally depressed, if 100 voters show up. She won 20 voters. Oh my God. It's a blowout, right?
Hmm.
But also Indiana is like it is a plus 11 Republican state. So it's
Hmm.
hard for me to imagine that this is obviously a story that's going to drive clicks, but it's hard for me to imagine it's really going to affect the election. So,
Yeah, it would matter. I mean, if it was in a
yeah.
closed state, then that could be
Of
substantial.
course. If it
So,
was in a swing state, would be, yeah. So
right.
anyway, we can go back to super chats.
Mr. Borelli for $5 says, check out Ida B. Wells' recent quote tweet of J.K. Rowling. Can you make sense of the point she's making? I can try. So let's see. J.K. Rowling on the 12th tweeted out, she has a long chain, not a long chain, a couple tweet chain I'll read. J.K. Rowling says, calling a man is not bullying or punching down. This is in reference to, there was some trans woman, I forget the exact context, that J.K. Rowling was saying, like, this is a man. Did you see this tweet that got her in trouble?
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
missed it.
Well, I mean, we all
So,
know. There's an article from Daily Mail said J.K. Rowling is accused of cruelty as she mocks transgender football manager by calling her a straight white middle-aged bloke. And then J.K. Rowling quote tweeted that saying, "I didn't compare him to one, he is one." So there you go. And then the
right.
picture of the football manager who looks to be very non-passing trans. Okay.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So anyway, J.K.
Oh,
Rowling
yeah,
says,
yeah, yeah. I think I did see part of this.
right. J.K. Rowling says, calling a man is not bullying or punching down. Cross-dressing straight men are currently one of the most pandered to demographics in existence, and women are under no obligation to applaud the people caricaturing us. To which Jonathan Chait, not Haidt, Jonathan Chait, CH, responded, just call people what they want to be called. It's a basic decency. J.K. Rowling responded, stop telling women what they're allowed to say, Jonathan. It's basic decency. To which someone who I'm not familiar with, named Landon Best, replied, you keep telling trans women that they're not allowed to call themselves women, even though they are. Stop telling women what they're allowed to say, JK. It's basic decency. To which JK responded, saying, does this apply to any other demographic, Landon? Do I get to be black? And if I like Motown and fancy myself cornrows? What if I claim the authentic me has always been black and that you're being racist to me? Would that be okay, or would you find it ludicrous and deeply offensive? So there's JK
Wow.
saying this whole idea that you can be any gender or sex you want is as ridiculous as trying to be any sex that you want. So,
Yeah, she's been very, very based in a lot of the trans activist community seems really upset about it. But
right.
I mean,
What was
ugh.
the name of that famous woman that was pretending to be black and then
Rachel
Rachel
Dolezal. Come
Dolezal,
on.
thank
You
you,
haven't
yeah.
subscribed to her OnlyFans account yet? What are you
Oh my
doing?
God, why did you remind? I forgot about that. I happily, ignorantly, blissfully forgot that that was a thing. Now you reminded me. Terrible.
Well, now you gotta look. Now you gotta look it up.
I gotta look it up out of morbid curiosity. Okay, so Ida B. Wells, who is the Nicole Hannah-Jones,
How can you
1619.
look? How can you say this trans person doesn't pass? That you're so mean.
He brought up a picture.
You're so. I brought up her tweet. I brought up J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not a
Rowling's
great
tweet.
picture. They chose for the article. Look
Why?
at
I'm
Adam
looking at the
using bright
video.
mode like a heathen.
This is just. I am not logged in.
Okay, okay,
I
fair
just
enough.
use this browser. Yeah, I have dark mode on my browser, just so you know that I'm
Okay, good, good,
based and true.
good. I got an argument with someone about this. They were trying to tell me that blinding your eyes bright mode was the correct mode, and I was like, you're insane. Anyways,
Right.
so Nicole Hannah-Jones quote tweeted that thing about the "Can anyone be black?" tweet and said, "I'll say it one more time, stop using black people as your comparison group because it almost always reveals more about you than you think it does."
Right.
So I know she's, on one hand, I know what she's saying she did a Will Smith where she walked up and she slapped J.K. Rowling. She said, keep black people out your mouth.
Right.
Okay. But I don't know what's the second part when she says it reveals more about you than you think. I don't know what that's supposed to be in reference to.
What's she saying? Look, you're a racist. Obviously, you've got black people on your mind all the time, and you can't stop thinking about them because you're completely racist against them. That's the
I
connotation.
don't know. I don't, it
Look, and it's
doesn't,
Hannah Nicole Jones. It's obvious. Look,
well, no,
she's a race grifter.
right. I get that the connotation is that she's saying you're racist. I don't get the logic exactly of what she's implying. That's apparently
Oh, okay.
so like obvious to everyone. I just don't see it. So,
Look, it doesn't have to make sense, Sitch. You just go on the
okay.
intuition of what's happening here. Oh, I
Now
see the picture now.
somebody replied saying, what does it reveal about JK? Black people are the perfect control group because their loudest activists view race as sacrosanct, and gender activists fear nothing more than race activists as they aim for the same customer. Race beats gender in the oppression hierarchy. Oh, that's a pretty good response.
That who said that was J.K.?
No, some random guy named
Okay.
George D. Denny
Yeah,
responded
no,
to
that's a
that.
great response. That is a great response.
To which Nicole Hannah-Jones replied to that saying, "Tell me you know nothing about black people."
It's so infuriating to me.
Yeah.
Can you imagine me saying, "Oh, you don't understand white people"? Since you don't understand white people. The fuck? It's so infuriating to me that when people are like, "Look, I can speak for my entire race."
Mm-hmm.
Yes, look, I'm psychically linked like the Borg to every single other white person on the planet.
Right.
It's like, oh God.
I thought that was just me.
Look, it infuriates me. It infuriates me. Look, stop letting race grifters speak for you. Stop it.
Stop letting race grifters speak for you challenge? Impossible. Okay.
Yes. Look, I know a lot of black people this bugs the shit out of.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, what the fuck? There's black conservatives.
Okay.
I
But
am
the thread,
one. I know them.
Anyway,
I derailed. Yeah, let's go
back. The thread
back.
continues. George responds saying, "Because I'm making a point about strategy, have you considered why your movement is in retreat? Veiled insults were solid in the summer of 2020, but having played that card exclusively, what comes next? Is there a second move after leveraging your identity for a personal attack?" To which a random person replied, "Being black is a movement," which George replied to that saying, "The 1619 Project is a movement intended to reframe the founding of America as a slave state rather than the force which did more to eradicate slavery worldwide than any other. It seeks to turn humanity's greatest achievement into a source of guilt for the easily manipulated."
This guy is super base. We need to get him on the show.
There
Look
you
at
go.
this.
To which Nicole Hannah-Jones replied again, that was too juicy for her to let go. She said, "How was America the greatest force to eradicate slavery worldwide? More when the U.S. was one of the last nations in our hemisphere to profit from slavery. Please be specific." To which George replied,
Of course,
"Sure."
George is coming back. He's coming for the kill.
He is. He says, "Sure, the U.S. Constitution was a revolutionary document which set the stage for the Civil War and decades of ensuing progress to become the first nation of its size and diversity to value equal treatment of all peoples. This beats the British naval blockade of West Africa." Wow, so I was wondering if he was going to bring that up, and he did. Look at that.
He knows his history. Look at this.
To which Nicole responds saying, "So you've got nothing? Thanks."
Oh my God.
Look
and
at
then she
this.
slinks away into the night.
She says, "What do you have?" And he says, "The Constitution, bitch." And she said, "That's not anything." No, she said she
really?
did the Westworld.
Happen?
He pulled out the Constitution. He said, "The Constitution." And she just said, "I don't see anything there at all."
No, you made that up. That's
what
totally
happened.
Exchange.
It's like Westworld.
She slinked away after.
No, she said, "You got nothing.
comment.
Thanks." Yeah, that was her response.
That was her last response.
That was her last response. Yeah.
Do it in the voice of the precious character from Lord of the Rings. Do it in the
Gollum.
What's that? Do it in the Gollum voice. Do that last tweet in the Gollum voice.
I can't do that at the moment. Why?
This is exactly how she said it. Go ahead.
I can't do the Gollum voice.
What's the line?
"So you've got nothing, thanks."
So you've got nothing, thanks. There's my attempt at Gollum. Come on.
No, I can't do it. I muted myself. I was trying to. I can't do it. I'm not. I need to hear it again. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then she slinked off into that. My precious, with her 1619 project. My precious,
my precious racism.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I do like the idea of Nicole Hannah-Jones as Gollum, and instead of the ring, she has like racism, and she's holding it. She's like,
of course, she's got her 1619 book. Oh yes, yes, precious.
That's good.
Someday people will fall for you.
No.
Oh my God.
Whitens, the tricksy Whitens, take my precious racism away.
How did you stumble upon this? Was this? I mean, this is great. Yes, the
super chat.
Mr.
Burley super chat this, yeah.
And we just looked it up. Look, I just looked it up. All came from a super chat.
This all came from a super chat. Thanks to viewers like
we
you.
Should look. We should pay you. That was amazing.
That was good. That was good. Oh
Ah,
my God, she actually responded to a bunch of different tweets in response to this. Look at this. It's
look,
like a
we
whole
need to.
chain.
We should be gassing her up on Twitter. Look,
You're right.
she could blow the show up. She's a big time responder.
Hmm.
Someone send her the clip of me doing the Gollum impersonation of her. I'm sure she'll love that.
Right. Let's see.
Yes.
Let's see if there's any other interesting responses here.
We're
Someone
going
said,
to town.
considering this honest, hypothetical, and valid question, if the factor were race, could you sincerely accept that some people who are 100% white could be considered black merely by injecting melanin and undergoing plastic surgery to acquire features typical of black individuals? Trans people aren't claiming to be the opposite sex, they're claiming to be the opposite gender, and gender is a construct. So she responded to this saying, I think of a very simple understanding of how sex and biology works, but also I'm not interested in arguing about it. Have a good day.
But look, they are constantly saying race is a social construct. That's a typical position on the left.
Right. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the argument this person's making, saying, well, what do you, how can you say that these things are not related if you're saying you're both social constructs? The person replies saying, there are biological differences between what we call black and white people. We are biologically distinct variants, not different races, as evidenced by our ability to procreate together. Existing differences have a physical, biological basis and are not socially constructed. So what she replied saying, yeah, talk to me about biological differences that made me black. Welcome to a construct.
So she is saying race is a construct.
I get, yeah, I'm
Make up your
very confused
mind,
as to what
lady.
she's
Make up
saying.
your
Yeah,
mind.
right. Um,
Wow.
okay. Interesting. So, but that is always the big problem that they've never really addressed is that if you're going to say gender is a social construct and therefore that's why you can transition from one gender to the next, and you're going to say race is a social construct, why can you not transition from one race to another?
Yeah. Look,
There's
they
not a
hate that argument because
inherent
it's like,
logic to it. Yes.
yeah,
So there you
it
go.
makes them think too much.
You know, it's hilarious because like she actually replied to like a bunch of people, but
Yeah, look.
she didn't make a single argument in any of your replies.
And
She
that's
Yeah, she just says like,
unusual.
well, no, but well, then why even reply? She just has all these replies where she's like, "You're wrong, you're stupid, you're wrong, you're stupid." No actual explanation. Just say what your argument is. Just
Look,
lay
she's
out the
lighting up
argument.
there's look, she's lighting up her cash app, man.
Guess
Look at her cook. Oh yeah, she's cooking.
not really.
Well, not really if you have a brain, but a lot of
Yeah,
people are like they're just obsessed with identity politics.
I mean, she's not getting a lot of likes for someone of her status and her following. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah, I you always see that and you're like, "Wow, this person has like a lot of followers, but they don't get much engagement at
hmm
all.
hmm
They must all be dead.
Or
Must have all
bots, so they don't
died."
care. Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, she's an idiot, so not
Yeah.
surprising. Okay. Landon Door for 15 months. Thanks so much. Says, will it really make a difference if liberals like Bill Clinton turn against wokeness? His generation is dying out. Woke Gen Z is here to say. It will make a difference if if they can get the mainstream to turn against wokeness and to actually try to root this shit out of the educational system. I do think that would make a very significant difference. There will always be, unfortunately, and we'll be saddled with some amount of Gen Z that will never change and will be stuck in wokeness for till the day they die. But the question is, you can you turn away a lot of people? A lot of people, do turn away from their college radicalism as they get older, enter the real world. And the next generation can look at this and be like, this is cringe, right?
Yeah,
So yeah.
the move is to make it just culturally lame. Like
Yes.
just not cool. Yeah.
Right.
That's the same way that they did with cigarettes, obviously. There was a time when cigarette smoking was cool, obviously, and everyone did it because it was the cool thing to do, and then it became not the cool thing to do. And
Yeah.
people look down at people who smoke as low status and fucking stinky, right?
Yes.
So they need to do that with wokeness. Wokeness needs to be like, when these people come out and start virtue signaling about race, everyone has to have that same intuition that they have about cigarettes. Like, oh my God, you're disgusting. Get away from me.
Right.
How can you
Right.
be so uncool?
And it'll be funny too, because this will be like, quote, the comedy of the universe slash simulation. If because there's not a name for the post Gen Z yet, except for Gen Alpha.
Right.
So it'd be funny if the Alpha generation turned is like the wokest cringe.
I thought it
Like,
was. Oh, that would be good. That's an
with-
alpha move.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It'd be hilarious if Gen Alpha is like, we're too alpha for this fucking cringe woke shit. So,
It is lame.
of course.
It is lame, and I do think people are doing it for the same reason people smoke. They're doing it because they think other cool people are doing it. It's
Sure.
not healthy or good for you or anything.
Well,
Obviously not, right?
and it'll be interesting because I do wonder how many of the Zoomers have got sucked into this because when it's taught to them by their teachers, when they see streamers like Hassan talk about it, it's always on the veil of like, this is subversive, this is against your parents. And if that's not the case, because the mainstream kind of bends over backwards for them, is Generation Alpha going to be like this isn't like subversive. This is, the cringe older generation that I've been listening to whine on and on for the last 10 years.
Yeah, how is
So
it how is wokeness subversive? It's like the ultimate like fall in line.
I know
You
that's
might
why
as
it's
well put a
hilarious.
fucking uniform on.
Yep.
Look, you have to have blonde hair and it has to be shaved on one side. And
Yep.
it's like what?
It's so subversive that I have the power to cancel people on social media and everyone bends over backwards to cater to my whims.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, how we doing? Are we almost
Magna
done?
Defender for 98 for $5 says we're 4 years in and the mainstream media refuses to drop Koof. It's a dead horse, but the journalists won't shut up about it. You think they get the message now? Really? Wait, people, I don't follow or read any stories about COVID. Like,
Yeah.
is it even still talked about in the media? What stories are about COVID are people talking about?
Look, and I do think there are people on the right who are dragging it out a bit because they want to make some point about how a lot of people got it wrong. Which I mean, it's fine, but it seems
Hmm.
like they're the ones that are writing most of COVID stories.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I saw wasn't a story. It was a tweet about, I didn't read it, so I don't know if it was true. There was a claim that there was some finding from the House of Representatives that there was that COVID was a lab leak or something. So, but I haven't
Okay.
really been following COVID news. I didn't think there was COVID news. So. I saw there's like people keep trying to hype up. It's really obnoxious. Like the Daily Mail is like super clickbait. They keep trying to hype up that like this whole chicken bird flu thing.
Hmm.
And then every article you read, they keep saying, like the government keeps saying, like they think it's a very, very low risk that this is like actually a problem. But then the title is like, oh my God, the bird flu is like coming, next epidemic. You're like, oh my, it's like, shut up, please. Please stop.
Hmm.
Adam Gadbaugh for 21 months, thank you so much, says, I'm voting for the worm in RFK's brain for president. There you go.
Good.
Good vote.
Maybe I'll vote for RFK just so I don't get a bunch of people chastising me for voting for Trump or voting
There you
for
go.
Biden. It's going to be equal hate on both sides.
That's what you want. Yeah.
Look,
Liam S. for
can I vote? Can I write in Trump Biden for like Trump president, Biden vice president, and just vote for both?
yeah, we need to have like remember like the Romans, they'd have like the two people rule at the same
Amer-
time or whatever. Yeah.
America used to do the second place, like one, like the runner up got like vice
Vice president.
president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a retarded system. Like I think they got rid of that pretty quickly.
Wouldn't that look just incentivize the one party to assassinate the other party?
I mean, that's a good point, I guess.
Ugh. Okay.
Or to try to impeach them. Liam S. for 22 months says, when you think of Ireland and you think of Eurovision, which I assume like all good people you do regularly, what do you picture? Now Google it. Yeah, I've seen all the people tweet about that. There's all this controversy because a bunch of people want Israel to be kicked out of the Eurovision singing contest, a thing I've never watched or cared about in my entire life, and I refuse to watch or care about ever for any reason. And the the people representing Ireland are like, I don't know if you've seen the picture of them, Adam. They're like making themselves look like demon fairies in terms of like having all these piercings and having their hair styled in a specific way, and they look really like ultra mega punk, which I think looks disgusting. But and they're claiming that Israel is like hurting their fifi, so they should be kicked out of Eurovision. So pretty funny.
Yeah.
BA
Anyway.
for £2 says trigonometry guys interviewed Finkelstein. Yeah, I saw that. I'm gonna watch it today, see if it's interesting.
Oh, wow.
Brian for $5 says your eyes are weak, Sitch. Stare into the light mode. Pain is weakness leaving your eyesight. There you go. Melface Rose for $2 says Nicole has nothing on the goddess Brianna. There you go. Calvin Paffer for 10 months says circumcision, MMT, and LOLCon is the dark triad of the gay and bitch show. There you go. There you go. That must be the evil universe version of our show. So I guess that does make sense, except for the MMT thing, obviously. Sella for $2. Thank you, Sella says, check your DMs. They've been having problems sending super chats for a week. Really?
Oh,
Wow.
really?
What's your Twitter name? I don't see anything from Asala in my DMs. But well, anyway,
All right. Great show. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
see you guys tomorrow. Take
Bye
care.
bye. All right. I'll